Morning, everybody. Just want to say congratulations to the Bitcoin community. We are officially important enough for Donald Trump to want to tweet about us. So I guess that's a big step forward that 61 million followers on Twitter all now know that Bitcoin is important enough for Donald Trump to want to tweet about it, which means that Facebook is having the desired effect on Bitcoin that I talked about in my previous videos. That is shaking up the world, is getting the most entrenched power interests in banking, in politics, in central banking around the world are now getting the attention of cryptocurrency. Can't be ignored. We all know that Bitcoin gives people the ability to own their own money, to spend their own money, and has a monetary policy that makes the dollar look like an extremely poor store of value. I know that it's a bit extravagant what I said in the title, but I just pulled up a chart of Bitcoin today, and you can see that Bitcoin against the dollar has performed 23 million% over if you held your money in dollars since it actually started. Obviously, not many people did that unless you're Satoshi Nakamoto yourself. But the point is that there's a whole lot of nonsense that Donald Trump is talking about in his tweet. He first talks about that the US dollar will be the most important currency forever. History has shown that no country or no currency has dominated more than 50 years. So I think the US dollar is starting to reach the end of that cycle. And they have a major debt problem. They have over $22 trillion of debt backing that currency. Now, while they have one of the most sophisticated financial systems that we have ever seen, it's also perpetuated by decades of financial engineering at the retail bank level, the investment bank level, and that has been passed on into a fiat-based Ponzi scheme that at some point has to actually unwind. So I think Donald Trump might just have been set up to be the president that was actually in power during the fall of the US dollar. At the moment, US dollar is still the best place, I believe, to actually have your money versus other fiat currencies. But that is only as long as the existing system still continues to prevail. However, it's great that Donald Trump wants to talk about it, and we can just see the usual nonsense. Firstly, that it's used for nefarious activity. Yes, Bitcoin can be used for nefarious activity, but it's all tracked on a blockchain. And if you commit crime with Bitcoin, then they may not know your identity, but you create an immutable record that when they can attach an identity to your transaction and the nefarious activity, then you better be pretty good at figuring out how to detach your identity from that, because it's an immutable record. So personally, if I was a criminal, I'd much rather use the US dollar. And the way that it does actually happen is that the US dollar happens at both the banking level and the cash level. Cash is an anonymous way, but obviously governments around the world want to eliminate cash, and cash will become illegal all around the world at some point. But it happens at the large central bank level, where large clearing banks are able to clear vast amounts of dollars untraced. And that's where, you know, the large super criminals probably have relationships at the clearing bank level, and where they can clear interbank at the central bank in order to perform those vast quantities of money laundering that happens and still continues to happen. But instead of that, what we're doing is we're punishing everybody at the tiny minutiae level, whereby everybody has to give more and more data to companies like Facebook as they launch their cryptocurrencies as a result of that, because really it's not, this is exactly what tends to happen. But Donald Trump is talking about that nefarious activity. Way more nefarious activity happens with the dollar than happens with Bitcoin, because Bitcoin's not a great place to actually commit crime. What else did he say in his tweet? The usual objections. But I think the most important thing to point out is that the fact that Facebook is now launching their own cryptocurrency has put to the highlight and to the attention of all the most important power plays in the world that they need to start looking at cryptocurrencies, and I guess they're planning their defense strategy. We always knew this was going to happen. The governments around the world weren't just going to allow people to have an exit from their control system. But I think that it actually gives all of the governments around the world a great opportunity to improve the user experience of their money, to improve the monetary policy around their fiat currencies, and stop playing from election to election, whereby you perpetuate debt in order to win a voting cycle, so that in the next 4 years you can get a vote, and nobody wants to be the person that reverses the trend. And that's been one of the biggest problems with the system at the moment. However, Bitcoin's got, I guess, exposure to 61 million new people that follow Donald Trump. And I think we can say without a shadow of a doubt that some people might think that Bitcoin's a Ponzi scheme, a scam, or a currency just for drug dealers. But now at least the one thing we can say, everywhere I go around the world, pretty much everyone, no matter who they are, has at least heard of Bitcoin, which is a great progress for this tiny little experiment that started just over 10 years ago. And it's shaking up the world. So it's really excited to see. And I gave some stats about how your finances would look like if you started right at the beginning and you held your value in Bitcoin versus the dollar. So I'm going to get back to work. Over and out. Thank you.